Okay, guys, I'm very excited to talk to you about this fragrance. It's sort of a first impressions video for you, but if you caught my video from a few weeks ago, shot during TFWA in the south of France in Cannes with Sergio Momo of Xerjoff, we spoke about a lot of their fragrances that they announced at that event. It's basically a show that you go to, you present your new fragrances to retail, distribution, and agents and everything else in between. So I got to sample everything that they were announcing. My favorite fragrance I smelled that night is Gibeon, and it's finally out. And I'm going to do, like I said, I've smelled it before, but I haven't smelled it since when I smelled it late September, early October. But for me, it was the best of everything that they had announced. I really loved it. It was a bit classic. It was powdery, it was floral and very musky, just the kind of fragrance I like. So I can't wait to get my nose on this here for you guys. I'm also gonna cut to a few shots. You can go catch the video that I shot with Sergio on the yacht. And then also at the end of that video, if you haven't caught that video yet, there is a portion of Sergio speaking about the new fragrances as well on the beach. So it's good to watch it, but I'm going to cut to the sections where it features Gibeon and have him, appear in this video talking about it. But Gibeon, like I said, is one of the best that I smelled from Xerjoff. It was as exciting as the champagne fragrance, the Fougère, the Louis that came out, not the women's that came out last year, announced at the same time as Gibeon, but the year before the men's that came out with, that's part of the champagne collection that he talks about in the video. It was as exciting as that because I really fell in love with the Louis that features the champagne note, and this one is as exciting as well. So this is part of the Shooting Stars collection, and Xerjoff hasn't launched the Shooting Stars collection fragrance since Starlight, which came out in 2019. And I believe I have a full review of Starlight on the channel. You can go catch that. So it's been quite a few years, like 6-7 years almost, for another Shooting Stars collection fragrance. And I'm going to do first impressions here for you. I don't know who the perfumer is, but like I said, this is kind of a floral musky fragrance, and it retails for 50 ml 192.62 euros. So just around 193 euros. I don't see any retailers for in the States for this yet. And I have Xerjoff linked to in case you want to check it out on their website. So let me take the fragrance out and show you the presentation, but it's typical of Xerjoff's presentation. It does say Shooting Stars right there. And on the back, it does say Gibeon. Is it focusing? There's a lot of fragrances in the Shooting Stars collection. Neo, Uden, Kobe. There's a lot. Those are some of the more popular Shooting Stars collection fragrances. But here's the box the fragrance comes in. So look at the presentation right here. Beautiful detailing. And there's some numbering back there. And here is the bottle. So tap to connect, it says on the side. This is a Parfum concentration, and it's a 50 ml for around 193 euros. It features notes of Neroli and Ceylon cinnamon for top notes. Heart features Bulgarian rose, Singaporean Patchouli, Tuscan Orris. Finally, in the base notes, we've got Australian sandalwood, cedarwood, musk, Madagascar vanilla, and tonka beans. So let's go ahead and give a smell here. What I'm going to do after I smell it, let you know a little bit about it. I'm going to cut to Sergio and I on their yacht and discussing this fragrance. It's probably around 3 minutes. After the outro, I will also cut to when Sergio was, discussing this fragrance on the beach. So very powdery, but you know what? It's powdery, but it's also creamy. The Orris, most likely it's Orris butter, adds that kind of a creamy layer. Super buttery, but very powdery, very, very powdery. Warm, spicy for sure. And it's a nice fusion of a citrus floral note that's very fresh, sweet, along with Ceylon cinnamon, which is a warm spice, a sweet warm spice. So it's an interesting warm, fresh start at the top, which leads to the rose, and one of my favorite notes, patchouli, mixes with the Orris. This is where it becomes a bit vintage to me. This portion, not the top, but the heart. But the fact that it also has Australian sandalwood here, that also adds a creamy layer. And so we've got the butteriness from the Orris, creamy layer from the sandalwood, but there's also vanilla here, tonka, and the musk, along with the cedarwood. It's so yummy. Super, super yummy. It's rich. It's decadent. It's almost like dessert, but it's not gourmand notes. The only thing that's gourmand here is the vanilla. Well, maybe a little bit of the Ceylon cinnamon, but I wouldn't really necessarily call that a gourmand note. But this is very decadent, very rich, very luxurious, and very Xerjoff. It's really nice, really, really nice. I mean, this just stood out. And I think this actually even smelled better in can because it was warm. I mean, for some reason, humid weather really makes fragrances come alive. It's the warmth that like opens up fragrances. I mean, I travel to Italy and France all the time in the summertime. And of course, I go perfume shopping and, testing fragrances. And they really do smell much better in the heat. It's pretty dry here in California. It's also, it's pretty cool right now. And it's smelling great on the strip. I'm going to spray it on skin as well. And then I'm going to, of course, as I said, I'm going to cut to Sergio, and then I'm going to come back and tell you how it smells like on skin. But being the fact that this is this is dry here in California and also kind of cold right now, I can tell that it's not blooming as much. So it does need warmth, especially the body warmth, skin warmth. And I think it's going to smell even better. But I mean, once the temperature heats up a little bit, this thing is going to be amazing. What I really love about this is how decadent it smells. It's not gourmand, but it's giving me like a creamy, decadent, velvety, like luxurious cream. It's super smooth. And, you've got the earthiness of the patchouli, that rose. And the rose and patchouli, when they combine them together, it does have the kind of the experience of a chypre, like the earthy patchouli and rose. You got that a little bit. But you know what? I forgot to mention the musk. This is quite musky. It's developing. And I think that's contributing to the powderiness for sure. It's not just the Orris that's providing the powder. Now we have the butteriness from the Orris, the powderiness, and then also the creaminess from the sandalwood. But the musk is also throwing in its powdery muskiness as well. It is really great. So what I'm gonna do is spritz on both of my hands, cut to Sergio, and then I'll come back and tell you a little bit more about this, I should say. Whoa, it's even creamier on my skin. Oh, that's good.
But yes, great response during these few days in Cannes for this, what I say, classic. But that's the way I feel about Gibeon.
So it's Gibeon.
Gibeon, yes. What is your impact?
It's powdery, it's rich, it's creamy, it's warm, it's spicy. There's a buttery quality about it, and it's super sexy too, because the patchouli that adds that sexy layer that I really love in this. What style would you classify this fragrance?
Fruity floral.
Yeah, it's so good.
Let me ask you a question, because you actually said something which I'm particularly interested in. Why do you call it sexy? Which I agree with you. But how do you describe a sexy
This question
perfume?
comes up all the time.
Oh yeah? So I'm not being
I think I always associate sex with orgasms.
Okay, so you're going down heavy on this. I was going to be a little bit more gentle on that.
And, it's an orgasmic experience. It's like, climax. It takes you to that kind of a place. All right, this is developing so nicely on skin, but I've never personally wore it, but I did get to experience and spritz it several times during that time I was in the south of France during TFWA. That's a 5-day show. So I think I got my nose on this a good 3 times while there. So now that I've been wearing it, I do have the experience of makeup, maybe a little bit of lipstick. It is very powdery, so that effect has taken on my skin, but it's really super rich, very decadent, super velvety, smooth cream, but a powdery cream. The rose is prominent. You first notice the citrus floral, the neroli, and I smell the rose, but also it's a spiced rose, you know? The cinnamon eventually develops while I'm picking up the rose, but all along the same time as that earthiness of the patchouli, but at this time also, it's quite dominating with the powdery effect. It's really super powdery from the Orris. And this is when you also experience how rich and buttery it is. White chocolate comes to mind for some reason with this. I don't know why, but I think the fact that I'm getting the Orris texture of butter and also the sandalwood, it's how it's giving me the idea of white chocolate. I've never been a fan of white chocolate. I love my chocolate somewhere in between milk and dark, but I like the experience of white chocolate in fragrances. Just imagine makeup or lipstick made with white chocolate. Is there such a thing? I don't know, but that's what I'm getting with this. But in a really, really good way. Really good way. I think for me, it's floral for sure. You're experiencing the neroli, which is a citrus floral, and you're also experiencing the rose, definitely a floral note, but a floral note all on its own, because there's nothing like rose out there as far as flowers go. So it's quite floral and quite powdery and quite musky. But once you get past those, it's super, super decadent. Like it's ultra luxurious and very, very elegant. And still reminds me of dessert, and that's why I mentioned white chocolate, because it's super creamy and dense, but super smooth. Imagine on the point of melting that white chocolate, and that's how it is. But still, it's kept its form and shape because it's super creamy, but it's almost at the point of melting. And also, it's so strong. And yes, I did put a lot of sprays on, but this stuff is so super strong. It's really, really intense. I would say it doesn't remind me of any other Xerjoff fragrances, but the one thing that comes to mind with this is Pico Via Dama. Not as a smell. Pico Via Dama is another Xerjoff. And I'm not saying it reminds me of Pico Via Dama because of smell. It reminds me because of how elegant and luxurious it smells, because Pico Via Dama, I think to me, is an aldehydic, much more classic inspired than this, but it gives me a similar idea and vibe because of how luxurious and elegant it is. And the other one that comes to mind is Apollonia. And Apollonia, once again, it's a completely different fragrance. It's nothing alike, but that's also very luxurious. It's powdery and also musky, floral as well, but it reminds me of the idea of that. For me, Apollonia, on the other hand, is super personal as a fragrance. This is super loud. So don't think going into this, you're going to get something like Apollonia as far as performance goes. It's not that. This just gives me the idea of how luxurious Apollonia is, but more importantly, how luxurious Pico Via Dama is. But neither fragrances smell like Gibeon. I think Gibeon is a fragrance all on its own. But again, super awesome scent. You'll be hearing me talk about this one much more come next weeks and months and into the rest of the year. Definitely one of the best releases. Does this qualify as a 2026 release though? I think it was announced in the south of France during TFWA, but it was actually officially launched in 2026. So I would say this is definitely a 2026 offering. And again, I did sample a lot of the new fragrances that Xerjoff announced during that show. But for me, as I said, the standout was this one. And it's a given. It's another iris-focused fragrance. And I've really, really become obsessed with iris-focused fragrances. And this, even though it reminds me of, being a Xerjoff, because it definitely has Xerjoff-like qualities, but I think it's the iris and the musk in here that's doing the trick for me. Obsessed with iris, really love it. And this is an iris fragrance that I have never smelled before. So it's a pretty new fragrance for me. So anyway, those are my thoughts on this one. This is Gibeon from the Shooting Stars collection by Xerjoff. Before I end the video though, let me go back to the previous love from Xerjoff, and it's Louis 15 1722. This is the one that features the champagne note. And Xerjoff also launched at the same time they launched Gibeon. They launched the rosé version of this, which is a bit more of a feminine offering. But for me, the best launched at that show was Gibeon, and the previous year they had launched this. I really love this as one of the best Xerjoff fragrances. Now, I've recommended this one quite a bit. If you haven't gotten your nose on this one, please do. Sorry, gang, I'm still suffering from the remains of a bad flu, so I had to pause there to cough a little bit. But this fragrance, Louis 15 1722, is a very luxurious take on a fougere and very super modern. So there's a sparkling effervescence, but I wouldn't say it's super strong. I think the rosé version is much more effervescent, but just enough to give it a bit of a bubbly effect. But it has the lavender, and the combination is so awesome. It's also a creamy, once again, but not super creamy like Gibeon. It's definitely a smooth, creamy effect, but man, it's good. And again, there's no gender for me behind fragrances, but for me, Louis 15 1722 is masculine, and I think Gibeon does lean feminine, but both of them are really, really awesome fragrances. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys get your nose on Gibeon. Let me know what you think once you do. I'll be speaking about it more coming down the line, as I said. But let me know if you've gotten your nose on Gibeon. Do add a comment below. Thanks so much for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, and also give a thumbs up for this video so it helps with the algorithm. And don't forget, head over to subscribe to my shorts channel as well. I have it linked in the info box. See you later. Bye-bye.
Shooting Stars. Shooting Star is a collection, is the very second collection that Sergio has created back 15 years ago. So as you all know, all of you knows, and if you don't, I will tell you now, the first collection that Sergio launched was the 1717, was the Stone collection. When we conquered few markets, obviously the price was extremely high and the packaging was extremely complex. So the market was requiring us to create something which was a little bit more easy to sell in a, I would say, in a traditional perfume retail. So Shooting Star is the collection that we launched back, I guess, 15, if it's not 15, 16 years ago. We haven't produced a Shooting Star perfume for a long, long time. Some of my colleagues was reminding me it was 2018 probably, and 19 the last time we launched a Shooting Star. So we decided it was about time to add something to the collection. So this new perfume, this new Shooting Star is called Gibeon. I don't know if you noticed the Shooting Star, they all have some strange names. And some of you may know that obviously this perfume are inspired by meteorites, by Shooting Star meteorites. And meteorites gets the name from the place where they land. Okay, that can be a seaside, can be a field, can be a desert. So Gibeon is actually one of the oldest shooting stars ever landed on Earth. We're talking about millions of years ago in Africa. So the same story goes for all of the shooting stars that we have in portfolio. Here, in terms of perfume, we're going back to something classic. When I say some classic, I say that basically when we have something like Patchouli, Rose, and Orris on the hard nose, it's definitely a classic approach. But why not? Sometimes it's nice to go back to the roots in order to see if it can be revisited in a nice way, obviously with the elegance with which these three ingredients can be to any fragrance. So something very classic with a little twist of modernity on the top notes, but nevertheless it's a revisit of something which I'm really, really fond of. When we started in almost 20 years ago, by the way, 2026 it will be 20 years of Sergio which exists. We don't have a precise date because, as most of you know, Sergio was actually created as a personal project. And so when I started to think about this project, I created a couple of perfumes with a very, very particular packaging. But everything was created with no intention whatsoever to create a brand or to have any kind of commercial outcome out of this. Things took different directions. So from the moment I started to design and with the help of obviously many people to create the first two perfumes. But it took at least 6 or 7 months before we actually created a company to support the project. So we have kind of a 6 months, 7 months in between the idea and the creation of the product. So we have to pinpoint 2026 as the 20th anniversary of the brand. So next year we're going to have some different kind of celebration. And we've been very lucky. I think we've been very successful. And so we have to be proud of what we've done so far.